So, for those of you following, for whatever reason, the tragedies of my existence, my mother died a couple of days ago. As I noted earlier, she had been declared terminal. She had been suffering for a long time, really, one way or another, And I mean, regardless of what I say, I love her, and even if I blame her for my existence. But it's kind of remarkably unaffecting. Like, the thing that was impacting me the greatest, and I saw her maybe 5 years ago. I stopped by. I had some work on the East Coast, and I spent some time with my dad, but she's harder to get to, and I went up and spent a couple of hours sitting there talking to her. No real fun, no real acrimony, just, yep. But the truth is that that's not sort of part of my life anymore. It's very hard for me to be terribly emotionally invested in something that's that far away. So what becomes the most problematic is the sense of duty that I should have gone and seen her, or something, before things became terminal, or before she was so out of it that it wouldn't have done any good. So very, very much, geez, I should do this, but my avoidance, my inability to face things, to face the complexity of situations. So in this case, there were a number of complexities, the least of which is getting off work, right? I mean, that I could just say, look, give me 2 weeks off, or it turned out I was able to find out that there was good enough internet there that I could work from there. So that wouldn't have been an issue. Rather, leaving this hill, my house, not just because I might die not on the hill, and I absolutely intend to die here, but also much, much more likely, somebody might break in. I've got all kind of complex things that food in the fridge. How do I arrange to make sure that my food is all eaten in time? At other times, especially if it was a quick decision, which it was looking like it was going to be this weekend, because my father contacted me, and it was, with clearly the, hey, we can't take care of her anymore, we need your help. And that was enough to activate me into the, yeah, I had better get down there, this is something that I can conceivably do something about. But then all the terrors and confusions and everything come into play. And some of the simplest ones, sure, I could throw food out, I could bring food to neighbors, I could do something along those lines. That would be really, really a hard decision for me. A much easier one would be to try to stuff myself. I mean, it's a very, 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 very difficult thing for me because, among other things, I didn't even know how long it would be, right? If I'm just going to say goodbye, that could be a week, that could be 2 weeks. But if I'm needed down there to help take care of her, I have no idea what the limits of that are. And that's terrifying too, because that does really start to bring the, oh man, how could I be away from my home for that long? I mean, being away from my home is hard enough, right? Uh, we did, we left from here to go to San Francisco. That was the only time that the house was left empty. And that was, for 2 days, right? We stayed one night. Uh, Airplane in the morning, airplane out in the evening. And I think, I may be mistaken. Anyway, maybe it was 2 nights, but I don't think so. And and I've become more and more, in Phoenix, we went away for a couple of weeks at one point because, well, frankly, it would have been very difficult for somebody to break in there. It would have been very, very hard. There was no real risk there. Here, everything's open windows, and like my door could be kicked in and all kind of stuff. My neighbor has had their door battered down basically with a battering ram. Of course, he probably had things worth stealing, which it's not so clear that I do. Unless you're interested in games. No, I mean, I got the computers and stuff that. But beyond that, probably the hardest single thing, I could arrange the airline ticket. I could probably arrange a cab ride or bus to within striking distance of the airport. I think I can get within 5 miles of it, uh, which can be walked, I guess. Obviously, cab would take me right there. The usual thing that I had gotten used to, the shuttle that I had gotten used to dealing with, they left the area, so that wouldn't be an option. So I would have to deal with something else. But again, that's just money. But, and I did look up, I'm allowed to use my old license to travel still. That's a couple years off before that a new rule goes in place, which makes it actually impossible for me to ever travel again, probably, because my license lasts until I'm 65, and my Arizona license, and I really don't want to get that taken away. When I went in to get that taken care of, they took my New Jersey one, punched a hole in it, and I was afraid I would end up with no license if I failed a test or something, but no, they just assigned me a new one. So, I mean, maybe things will be reasonable, but I don't ever trust things, right? But yeah, once I get there, once I got to the East Coast, I'd be at Newark Airport. Now, I did a rental. And again, arranging a rental and an airline at the same time, I can do that through work. That's no problem. I actually just tell them, and they have people who know how to do this kind of thing. But doing that, that's an additional burden, additional anxieties, additional problems and worries. And honestly, this is the kind of shit that A, I put off as long as possible, and B, I put off a little longer than possible because I'm not capable of doing a whole bunch of these tasks at once. My activity cycle is maybe one thing a day. So between the time that I found out that, between the time that it was we can't take care of her and she's dead, I barely would have had time to even start my process. Minimum time is it would take me a week or two to get out of the house and into the air and whatever. But once I get into Newark, assuming I have a car rental, then I have all the fears of dealing with a car. The last time I rented one, I kind of made an idiot of myself. I didn't know how to get the key to work. because you've got to like press the brake to make the key work or something like that. It's been that long now. I've driven since then. I drove the moving van up here, um, but I mean, it's been 5 years since I've driven a car, and the van was like one day I had it. Well, no, before that, I think. Before that, I think um, I drove another van for like 3 or 4 days up from Phoenix to here. So, that was a different thing. But again, uh, people are less used to driving a truck or whatever, so looking a little uncomfortable. But like getting behind the wheel of a car and not knowing what the fuck you're doing is somewhat worrisome. And I'm always afraid they'll just take it from me and say, "No, you can't drive. You don't know what you're doing." Or that I'll just wreck it in the lot or something. I mean, it's really a horrible thing. And I know my dad can't go down um, to the airport anymore, and I'm really not sure if my brothers would have been able to or whatever. And I'm incapable of asking stuff like that. I mean, I really am. Like, how am I never got to the question of how am I going to get from the airport to the house? I have never been able to ask that question. It's been several months of, are you going to be coming, whatever. No, I cannot ask that question. And I'm used to my life being, that I can handle these things on my own, right? Yeah, if I'm going to go to somebody's house and it's a 2 hour walk away, I take that 2 hour walk. Like when I had to haul my wife's ashes back, I took the walk. My shopping, is an hour hauling groceries, well, an hour and a half hauling groceries back. I just do that. I'm used to that. But you put it to something, and if you're talking about like a 20-minute or 40-minute even cab ride, my mind maybe allows for that. But when you start talking about a ride that's going to take more than an hour or whatever, I mean, that's going to be a fortune, isn't it? I don't know. It's too much for me to cope with, right? Even facing it. So here's the thing. I get the questions in my head, and even facing those questions enough to research them is more than I can handle. It's similar to how I am facing, I've got the computer, my wife's laptop, and I want to look into, I think she wrote some stuff in it. I've put it off for so long, I don't remember. Like, I was really kind of gung-ho when I first got it, and then now I can't approach it. It's that same kind of anxiety and everything. And there are just things you don't want to look at and don't want to know. I've gotten nowhere in terms of like, she's got money in Europe. I just can't act on it. I've got information about it to deal with. I managed to get a lawyer for here, and part of me says, well, until I get declared her executor here, I'm not sure that it makes sense for me to deal with them there. But I'm also not sure that it doesn't, but it's a damn good excuse for me to avoid it. And likewise, with the complexity of trying to get people to do work now, maybe now I've got somebody else, another friend, like I had said, I had one friend who said he would hook me up with someone. Well, that was supposed to start this month. I never heard back. And I can't kind of give that friendly poke or reminder. I was already asking for something. I can't ask for it again. Um, and similarly, another friend had said he could well, I mean, friend's a strong term, right? Another acquaintance had said that because I have no friends anymore, my friends sit on my windowsill, uh, and most of them are made of plastic. But he had made it clear, yeah, I can do that. I used to do that. But things have changed, right? That was a period where he was out of work, and now he's not, and I don't really expect, you know. Like, again, I would be essentially asking a favor in that case, and I just can't do that. On the bright side, the person who kind of hooked me up with someone now, I gave them a projector that fell off a truck that I have no use for. I told fucking UPS or whatever to come get it and gave them a week to get it, and I'm like, it's getting thrown out after that. Well, it's like 6 months. Well, no, it's like 2 months later and whatever. I brought it in so the rain wouldn't damage it. And I'm like, well, I have no use. I'm not going to sell it. But he maybe hooked me up with someone. Showed the guy a video of what I need done, at least in one place. And a thing that's helpful to all of us, because once I get the room downstairs empty and all the storage stuff put into this other room that I can't put anything in because I've been waiting for years to get a carpenter to put my walls back up. Then there's a gaming space down there that's kind of really a lot better for using for other people coming, because it's got, well, first of all, it's cool during the summer and it's warmer during the winter and has a heater, which most of my house does not. So it would be sort of, and it's got a nice big table, and it's a better table than I've got anywhere else. So, it's got the gaming table I used to have in Phoenix. So in a lot of ways, if this would be an optimal place to host gaming other than parking. Um, so, he's got a potential reason for wanting to get me fixed up anyway. But yeah, the real notable thing for me, though, was just sort of a sense of relief. And not just for my own problems, though. I mean, I know I focus on those because that's the thing I understand the best. But the woman that I knew as my mother would not have wanted to linger on in the state she was in. However, in her delirium, etc., she was worried people were trying to kill her, stuff like that. So I don't know, It's like, where do you put? I mean, she clearly was no longer of sound mind or body by far, but in terms of being able to make any kind of decisions, but there's sort of a natural inclination to try to save your life, even if it's the worst thing that you could kind of objectively do. I remembered when I stepped on a toad and it was bleeding, and I panicked and kind of ran away, but my feeling was I should kill this. I have crippled this thing and it's going to be miserable for life. And it had hopped away. And my dad's response was, well, I mean, it obviously wants to still live. Otherwise, it would have just rolled over and, laid there or something. Like, yeah, but as a moral creature, I feel like there's almost an obligation to end the suffering of others. Which is why I think I should wipe out all life. But yeah, one thing that I noted when I was on. I actually phoned my dad when I was on the phone with him. Um, I don't want this life. I would gladly trade what I have left, whatever the fuck that is, because I will just be miserable during it. To extend either of them, give them this, and especially with my mom, where she was doomed to die very shortly. The first thing I would be is like, get me off these fucking painkillers and let me feel this shit. Uh, but yeah, um, because the suffering is the point. Um, but yeah, I basically was like, I would gladly trade, not from some sort of altruistic thing alone, although my love certainly fits in with that, but through I would want that end to be soon. But it's funny because I've been thinking more and more along the suicidal lines as to why I'm so weak that I can't do it. What clues are there? And I posed myself the thought experiment. Let's say you gave me a little button, absolutely guaranteed to kill me, 100% assured, no repercussions, no cleanup problems for anyone. Just I could push the button and it's over, and no time to think about afterwards, whatever. I don't think I could push it. Um, and realizing that makes me wonder more and more, what the fuck? I'm here wishing for death, hoping that I'm like dying or something, or, you know, but that simple act is too much. Now, what might not be too much is to go on a hunger strike. Um, given my experiences before, I think I could probably do it, where I just stop eating for, you know, forever. Uh, Supposedly the hard part is the first 2 to 4 days or whatever. Um, I'm not. I'm not sure that I agree 100% with that, but certainly the last time I went 2 weeks, um, like with smoking, I kind of had to decide. You know what? I do want to eat again. I do want to stay alive for whatever reason. I'm not just going to stop. But given that I felt like I made that kind of conscious decision, I feel like I could have made the decision the other way just as easily. The one reason against it was that somebody would have intervened eventually. I was living with people and everything, and now I'm not. Now, no one would fucking know. I mean, after 2 to 3 weeks, I could probably just take a week off work or two, and that would be it. And it's not like there would be anything that would get in the way. But making my mind up in such a way is difficult, and of course, the fact that I go shopping, that makes it harder to even start the process. Because for the same reason I can't leave the house because of food possibly spoiling, there's no way I can start a hunger strike when I have like food that'll decay in the fridge. It's just not possible. It's like, no. But again, why would the button be so impossible for me? Yet, I do feel like I could I could swap places. Again, well, maybe because many of these ways are sort of magical and mystical, and so I don't really believe in them. But why do I believe in the button? Isn't it magical, mystical? I don't know. And then, what about the hunger strike? That's real. I've gone down that path far enough. I can understand, hunger strike versus, say, knife to the gut or putting a bullet in my head or whatever. But what about this magical button? What's different from that, between that and me trying to will myself into death or just not eating? I don't know. I don't know. It's almost as though the magic that I accept is a real act of strength and will, and the button doesn't feel that way. Of course, that doesn't tell me one way or another with regards to, like, taking more brutal pathways like my cliff or whatever. Or even, I don't know if I could have taken the drug that my wife took. I really don't know, in the sense that uh, although there were mornings when I would wake up or times of the day when I would think, wow, if she had left that shit, I think I would have tried it. I feel a lot less certain about that now. And I'll tell you what I feel absolutely no desire to try is the attempt to try to cut off the carotid arteries um, through through her cornhole bags. Through the mystery items, the cornhole bags and the ratchet thing. Now you're supposed to, it's not clear whether you're supposed to hang yourself, which would significantly be harder than just trying to, I mean, the point of the ratchet thing is not that it's strong enough to hang yourself with this weight where you want it, but that you can actually kind of close it off so that it's hard to reopen, as far as I can tell. Still a mystery what happened to the second one. I have no idea. I don't know if she threw that out. I haven't been through all her stuff all that carefully. I did find something new relatively recently, but I think I would have seen this had I found it. Well, I found a couple of new things. I found her keys, which were kind of not where I had looked and expected them to be, but were in something similar enough that it makes sense. And I found the tarot cards, both of which were kind of mysterious things that weren't there. But it's been a while. I mean, and until this contact from my father, I've been living kind of in a state of denial, not moving in any direction about anything. And it kind of shook me up after I found out my mom died. Enough where I got kind of depressive, drank, listened to some music, vaguely turned over the idea of trying to look through the information I need to look at about my wife, to try to come to some kind of position where I can speak, where I understand enough that I can speak to her memory properly. Like, I feel like I don't understand a lot of stuff she was looking at towards the end, and maybe ever. Or to move towards things with the finances. But I fear that's not the case, to tell you the truth. This last, yes, 2 days ago, the day I found out my mother died, I did drink and feel some of those thoughts a little stronger. But then yesterday, I guess, maybe yesterday I drank. I don't know. I don't remember what's what. It's like Thursday now. another week's passed with no sense behind it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of floating along. And part of me, and part of that floating along, is really this kind of, well, I hope I don't live long enough. You know, I hope this shit just doesn't catch up to me, that I'm dead in time, that, like, that it doesn't matter that I didn't do these things. But I kind of don't believe that, yet I can't face stuff. I really can't face stuff. The only thing I live for, like, I mean, not, it's been that way for a while anyway, is going dancing. And I don't really enjoy it. It's just all I have. Yes, I play the games. Again, there's a duty, and there's a duty to go dancing. And other than that, less and less. I'm sleeping more again, listening to podcasts, more porn, whatever. And when my wife first died, for maybe a month and a half or so, I was going for walks more. I was trying to get outside. I was trying to wrestle with things and make myself capable of doing stuff that I haven't been able, I mean, the way I am right now is not that different than when she was alive. It's just, I don't have someone around now. It's the same kind of pointless existence. So I don't know. I mean, things have gotten worse. There's more things for me to do. But I'm in the same fucking place that I've been for years and years, emotionally, which is kind of hopeless, with things to occupy my time that I don't really enjoy. And I would say that's almost entirety of my life. Hopeless and occupying my time with things that I don't really enjoy. So on that bright note, how you all doing?